which is in accordance with the 12th of September 2003. We begin once again with our study of the monumental work Sharh al-Aqidah al Wasitiyyah, explained by Sheikh Muhammad ibn Salih al-Uthaymin rahimahullah rahmatun wasi'ah. I had started thinking that maybe we should ask some questions. I'm concerned about the absorption of the knowledge. The absorption of the knowledge, whether or not it's being absorbed, being digested. And this really is the most important factor, that when we sit in these type of circles, that we're not sitting for entertainment or sitting just to waste our time, but that we must achieve the aim, which is the acquisition of the knowledge, so that we can carry the knowledge, and we can act upon the knowledge, and we can call to the knowledge. This can't be done without some type of recall as to what has been studied. There's various ways that people do that. One of the ways is a test. I recall in studying this book that we went over it thoroughly, the matan, and the text of it, and its explanation. And then we had tests. We were tested to make sure that we understood the fundamental principles of the book. Because, I mean, for our brothers to sit sometimes in these classes and maybe go on for months and hear any lessons or whatever, and then they come away with almost nothing, this is unacceptable, really. I mean, some people take notes, and depending on their proficiency in taking notes, they have something beneficial in front of them. And some people just listen, and it's fine if you have a good memory and you have good recall, and at the same time you go over the tapes later on. This is something, no one's finding fault with a brother who listens and he does that. But if none of that is being done, then you really sort of are wasting your time. Because knowledge, as it says, إِنَّمَا الْعِلْمِ بِتَعَلَّمْ. إِنَّمَا الْعِلْمِ بِتَعَلَّمْ. Knowledge is through learning. It doesn't come through osmosis. You're not just going to absorb throughout the atmosphere some knowledge. No, you have to strive. You have to strive. And knowledge is that which, if you give some of all yourself to it, it will give some of itself to you. If you give all of yourself to it, it will give some of itself to you. Where we left off last was the life of Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah. And this is important from the standpoint of you need to know who is the author of a particular book, and you need to know something about him, and you should need to be able to recall something regarding him. You read a book by Ibn Taymiyyah. Well, who is this Ibn Taymiyyah? What do you know about his life? What do you know about the man? So it's important that some knowledge be gathered regarding him, some information be retrieved and recorded regarding him. And also the explainer of the book, which for us in this case is Abu Abdullah Muhammad ibn Salih al-Uthaymin rahimahullah. What do you know about him? What do you know about him? So we'll take briefly the last of the life of Ibn Taymiyyah, because we took it before. We took the people having derision towards him and mistreating him. We took the fact that he became an enemy of every mubtada', every innovator he became an enemy of. We took the fact that he gave da'wah night and day, that he suffered. We took the fact that the Tatar were there, and the Tatar, the Mongols, were killing Muslims left and right, and Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah stood up to them, ordered them what was correct, not fearing the blame of the blamers and not fearing anything. We took that he would order what is good and forbid what is bad, that he responded to every group in accordance with what they were needed to be responded to. He responded to the Christians with his monumental book, al-Jawab al-Sahih liman badala din al-Masih, the correct response to those who corrupted the deen of the Messiah. He responded to the Jews. He responded to the Sufis. He responded to Ash'a'ira. He responded to the Jahmiyyah, alayhi salam. He responded to the Maturidiyah. He responded to the Batiniyah. He responded to the Qadariyah. He responded to the Jahmiyyah. He responded to the Mu'tazila. He responded to the Karamiyah. He responded to the Karamita. He responded to everybody who was in fact up on some type of innovation Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah dealt with them, subdued them, and conquered them. And so it's important to understand this, why he's Shaykh al-Islam, why he is in fact Shaykh al-Islam. We talked about him even getting thrown in jail for his viewpoint regarding the 3 talaqs, because everybody was on the opinion that if you pronounced the 3 talaqs, and that was it. And of course Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah said it didn't matter how many times you pronounced it, in a general sense this was his fatwa, but that it was counted in one jalsa, one sitting, as 1 talaq. It was counted as 1 talaq. So he was thrown in prison for this, brothers. He was thrown in prison for this fatwa because it went against the general flow. It went against the general society. It went against what the people were generally up on. And so therefore he was thrown in prison. He was thrown in prison because of that. The question of the 3 talaqs. The issue was whether a divorce pronounced 3 times at the same time took legal effect or not. This issue raised the following considerations. And he goes on to the reasons behind it and the considerations in that. But Ibn Taymiyyah, and he was thrown in prison because of this. And a royal edict was issued in Cairo, 718 Hijri, 1381 Christian era, forbidding him from giving any more fatwa. Can you imagine that a qarar comes down and he's told that he can't give any more fatwa because of this? Initially Ibn Taymiyyah abided by the edict, but later on he began giving fatwas anyway. And then it was told that he should desist or fear the government. Then he was detained in the citadel. The citadel was a prison, qal'a. It's a prison, a well-known prison. Even to this day you can see this prison in Syria for his fatwa and his legal verdicts. He was placed in there for 5 months until he was released later from being ordered from Cairo to be released. 5 months in a prison cell. And the prison cells then were not like they are now. Just like everything today is not like it was then. And it's a hermit's hole or less than that. It was in fact a prison. It's in fact a prison. And he dealt with that for this particular fatwa he gave regarding what? Whether or not divorce pronounced 3 times in one sitting took place or not. This shows the jealousy that was present. It shows the evil ulama, the evil so-called ulama who are around him, who wanted his harm, who wanted that he be destroyed, who wanted that he be removed, who wanted that he be humiliated. Bismillah. The final years. Between 721 after Hijrah and 726 after Hijrah, Ibn Taymiyyah devoted himself to teaching in Madrasa Hanbaliyah and his own Madrasa, Qassasin, and revising some of his earlier works. His adversaries again conspired to have him in prison. Here he continued writing tafsir of the Qur'an, as well as other works. Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah died in jail in Damascus on the Sunday or Monday of the 20th of Dhul Qa'dah in the year 728 Hijri, 26 to 27 September 1328, at the age of 67. He's buried in the cemetery of the Sufiya in Damascus. Even though Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah called against shirk and ordered with tawheed, the Sufis have a tendency still to visit his grave. Can you imagine that? Someone who has an abhorrent, appalling position regarding that whole thing, they had audacity to do that. He died in prison, brothers. This was his juhd, his striving, his amount of sincerity to Allah Ta'ala, that all of his life was spent in the worship of Allah Ta'ala, or acquiring knowledge regarding Allah Ta'ala, or defending the Sunnah, and exposing and deflecting the bid'ah, calling to tawheed, and warning against shirk. All his life been spent like this, acquisition of knowledge, and then acting on the knowledge, and calling people to that knowledge, and spreading that knowledge, until such time he sacrificed to such a degree where he died in prison. He died in the sijn. When they placed him in the sijn, Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah recited the ayah, which states that behind it is punishment, and inside of it is mercy. Behind it, and outside of the wall, is punishment, and inside of it is mercy. He recited this. And Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah used to say, Ma yasna adui bi, or whatever my enemy does with me, ana bustami fi sadri, my garden is in my chest. My garden is in my chest. Whichever way I go is with me. If they kick me out within the land, then this is like what going on a journey to tourism, to view things and to see things that are unique. That's how he's seen it. Kicking him out, meaning that you was giving him time to observe the creation of Allah Ta'ala and see the beauty and the richness of the creation of Allah Ta'ala. You're sending me on a tour. And imprisoning me is khalwa. Imprisoning me is khalwa. The time that I have to be alone with my Lord and remember my Lord and submit to my Lord and pray to my Lord. That's how he viewed it. They would get letters from Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah, his brothers and his students. And these letters, when he would say, they say, how you doing? He said, Ana fi ni'matin azima. I'm in a great blessing that I'm not able to calculate, nor am I able to articulate the full input of it to you. For this is one of the greatest blessings that Allah Ta'ala has placed upon me, that he has placed me in this matter. That he has placed me in this circumstance. In each letter, if you read, and it's much more fatawa, each letter was like that. I'm in ni'mah, man. I'm in ni'mah. I'm in good situation, good condition. What Allah Ta'ala has given me here, I mean, is beyond belief. What I have learned, what I've experienced, what I have obtained of comfort and of serenity and of peace and of the sweetness of Iman and of reflection on Ar-Rahman and all of these matters, it could not be compared to anything. And this is how his letters were constantly, from a prison, from a hole hidden inside of a hole in darkness. But this is how he was. Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah. No doubt his character and his achievements are great. Imam Ahmad rahimahullah says that the difference between us and them, and us being Ahl al-Sunnah and them being Ahl al-Bid'ah, is Yawm al-Janaiz, the day of the funerals. We'll see you the day of the funerals. This will be the difference. Because the funerals of Ahl al-Sunnah, those of Ahl al-Hadith, those who Allah Ta'ala has written for them qubul or acceptance throughout the earth, everybody comes. Some riding animals, some walking on their feet. All miles around they come for this purpose. And so this is why he said the day of Janaiz. The day of Janaiz. Because Ahl al-Bid'ah are usually isolated by themselves, alone. Alayka salam. No one's concerned about them. They lived despicable and they died despicable. They lived away from the Sharia and they died away from the Sharia. So Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah has said that the people of Damascus who held him in great honor gave him a splendid funeral, and estimated 200,000 men. 200,000 men and 15,000 women attended his funeral. He was buried, like we said, at that particular cemetery in Damascus where his mother was buried. Its name is Sufiyyah. 200,000 men. And this is why Imam Ahmad said, between us and you is janazah. They won't know who's up on the haqq and who's up on the batil. They won't know who's correct and who's not. Yawm al-Janaiz. And this Imam Ahmad's funeral was bigger than that, millions. And hundreds of thousands became Muslims, converted to Islam on that day. Why, it was a glorious day. People came into Islam. People left Bid'ah and came into Sunnah on the day of Imam Ahmad's funeral. Character and achievement, Taymiyyah occupied a highly honorable place among his contemporary religious scholars. Due to his prodigious memory, he had a great memory. Brilliant intelligence, encyclopedic knowledge, we took that. Dauntless courage. He's described as a great orator, brave and fearless, resolute and disciplined. Very pious, resigned and contented. I think he means contented. Noble and forgiving, just and ever determined. Just and ever determined. Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah reformed, he had reformative endeavors and literary pursuits that covered a vast field, which can be summarized as follows. One, revival of the faith. This is what he wanted to do. He wanted to revive Islam. He wanted to revive Iman. He wanted to revive the Deen. An adherence, a strict adherence to Tawheed. A strict and clear cut, no compromising, no gray area, black and white, adherence to Tawheed. Eradication of all false beliefs and customs. Criticism of the philosophers and all of those who were trying to say something was superior to the Qur'an and the Sunnah. Removing the un-Islamic beliefs by going against the Christians and going against the Jews in his books and his works and verbally, and going against the Shia, and going against the Batiniyyah, and going against all aspects of Ahl al-Bid'ah. Rejuvenation of Islamic thought and related sciences, giving rebirth to tafsir, rebirth to usul al-tafsir, rebirth to usul al-fiqh, rebirth to fiqh, rebirth to usul al-hadith, rebirth to hadith, rebirth to the ilm al-nasikh wal-mansukh, rebirth to all of those issues. Rejuvenation of Islamic sciences so they became alive again after the once being considered something that was dead or rusted over or no one gave concern to. Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah brought back to life. Brought back to life. Total workings of Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah that are known, because there's many that aren't, is 621. Many of them been lost. Al-Jawab al-Sahih liman badala din al-Masih. An answer to the criticism against the Christians. It's actually Al-Jawab al-Sahih, the correct response, liman badala din al-Masih, for the one who corrupted the deen of the Messiah. They corrupted the deen of Isa alayhi salam. They're not on the deen of Isa alayhi salam. They don't know the deen of Isa alayhi salam. They can't find the deen of Isa alayhi salam except in Islam. He wrote against them. Rad ala mantaqiyin, those who are upon mantaq and logic. We have many of those today. And like this. This is basically Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah, and we have not given him his just due in this matter, but this dars is Aqidah al Wasitiyyah, not the life of Ibn Taymiyyah, not a series of that. But just enough to know about him so that you have the respect that you are to have regarding such a man, such a unique, righteous, strong, courageous individual. We need the likes of him in our time. We need the likes of Ibn Taymiyyah in our time. Now, the explainer of this book, before we go directly to it, Sheikh Muhammad ibn Salih al-Uthaymin. And he is Abu Abdullah, Muhammad ibn Salih, ibn Muhammad ibn Uthaymin at-Tamimi. And at-Tamimi is a tribe, well-known tribe. Amongst them are those who went the way of the Khawarij, following the Khawaisira. Amongst them are those the most righteous of people and scholars, to such a degree that the Prophet ﷺ said, Banu Tamim, the tribe of Tamim, they are the hardest people among towards the Dajjal. They are the hardest people upon the Dajjal. So he is a Tamimi, a Najdi. He was born in the city of Unayza, Qasim, the Qasim region, on the 27th of Ramadan. He was born in the month of Ramadan. 1926. Christian era, 1347 Hijri, in a famous religious family. Didn't we say this before? That things don't just come out the blue. Ibn Taymiyyah was born in a deen-oriented, scholarly family, and the likes of Ibn Taymiyyah come out of that. Ibn Uthaymin was born in a religious, deen-oriented family, and the likes of Ibn Uthaymin comes out of that. It is a rare thing indeed that someone who has no surrounding that is Islamic and no family that is Islamic, that they will come out to that level of Ibn Taymiyyah. They may come out in a good level. No one's saying they won't. Allah Ta'ala blesses who He wills. But we're saying to that level, when you look at that level, to that degree, those people usually came out of generations of Islamic scholarship. Pops up Ibn Taymiyyah. Generations of taqwa, here comes Ibn Taymiyyah. Generations of fiqh, generations of hadith, here comes Muhammad al-Wahhab, rahimahullah. Here comes Shafi'i. Come out of that situation. So if there's anything a brother wants to do, is to make sure his family's straight now. His family's straight, and the generations are straight now, and the children are straight now, and everybody's up on Tawheed and Sunnah now, and everybody is on the acquisition of Islamic knowledge now. Then a generation or two, then we have something to look at. We say, look what this tree has harvested. Look what this tree has borne. Look what has been given birth to, based on the fact that we kept the covenant. We kept the pact, and that is to be solely committed to Allah Ta'ala and ascribe nothing to Him. Ibn Uthaymeen, rahimahullah, received his education from many prominent scholars, like Sheikh Abdul Rahman al-Sa'di. This is one of his main scholars he studied with. Sheikh Muhammad Amin al-Shanqiti, and of course Sheikh Abdul Aziz bin Baz. Sheikh Sa'di, Rahman al-Sa'di, Sheikh Shanqiti, the old Shanqiti, not the present day. The old Shanqiti was on something. Present day one got some problems. The old Shanqiti had a vast amount of knowledge. And Sheikh Abdul Aziz bin Baz. Sheikh Abdul Aziz bin Baz. If bin Baz is one of your sheikh, you all right. If Baz is one of your sheikh, you got it. When he entered into teaching, a great number of students from inside and outside Saudi Arabia benefited from him. He had his own unique style of interpretation. You'll see that as we go. You'll start to get appreciation of how Ibn Uthaymeen presents issues and how he discusses them. He has his own way, unique to him, to the degree that if you become so familiar with him, no one has to tell you his name when they read a portion of anything he's done. You'll hear it and you'll say, that's Ibn Uthaymeen. That's who that is. That's Ibn Uthaymeen. So everyone started to benefit from him inside and outside of Saudi. Inside and outside of Saudi. And as you see, we're sitting here still benefiting. Man in his grave, and we're still benefiting. And this is for him a sadaqat al-jariyah, a continuous sadaqah. Adds to him light in his grave, and bliss in his existence, and mercy and peace and serenity. Adds to us knowledge, insha'Allah ta'ala, and enlightenment of Tawheed, some knowledge regarding Sunnah, and the foundation and the basis of our Aqidah. Now that's a pretty good transaction. That's a pretty good transaction. Unique style of interpretation, explanation of religious point. He was from among the scholars who served Islam without any type of religious prejudice and kept themselves away from the limitations of blind following. In other words, he didn't do taqleed. He knew nothing about no taqleed, blind following. Blind follow who? On kitab al-Sunnah minhaj al-Salaf Salih, man. Blind follow what? It was his way. He was distinguished in his great exertion of effort in religious matters, analogical deductions, his qiyas or something else, which clearly proved the religious understanding he possessed and correct usage of the principles of religion. He knew the qawaid. He knew the qawaid, the principles of deen. And therefore he was able to base things upon those principles and make points upon those principles and give fatwa upon those principles. And so his thing, when he came at you, it was strong. It was strong. One of them described him, and this was a guy who didn't like him initially. I found him fully armed, well protected, and strong. I found him fully armed, with adillah, with evidences. No matter what I brought to him, he brought something back. That had me relenting, or subdued me, or did away with me. Huh? You go check cave high, what about this, and this? What, and this, and this. Just like that. The man was a brown skin, light brown skin. We used to look at his face and we would see this white beard with the shiniest pearl teeth you would ever want to see, constantly smiling. This was Ibn Uthaymeen. Something else. He was distinguished in the great exertion of effort in religious matters. And we said that. In giving religious verdicts like Sheikh bin Baz, his fatwa were based on evidence from Qur'an and Sunnah. He's had about 50 compilations, books to his credit. He taught religious fundamentals at the Sharia. He taught usul at the faculty of Imam Muhammad ibn Saud Islamic University, the Qasim branch. He was also a member of the Council of Senior Scholars, Hayat al-Kibar Ulama, of the kingdom. And he was an imam and a khatib in the big masjid of Unayza. How are you going to do all this, man? Teaching tullab, giving fatwa, sitting on the lajnat da'ima, or sitting on the Hayat al-Kibar Ulama. Then you still going to get up there and give khutbah and be imam at a particular masjid? Where was their energy? How? The Sheikh passed away, as you all know, the 15th of Shawwal, 1421 after Hijrah. It was January, the 10th of January, 2001. He was 74 years of age. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have mercy upon his soul. Ameen. Ibn Taymiyyah and Ibn Taymiyyah, given to you in a abridged form, of which you cannot probably even abridge it any more than that. Concisely. Now, there's a statement I want to read before we go and start. You probably say, man, why you, come on, man. Come on, let's get to it. Actually, look at the size of this book. This is what we're talking about going here. I went through a book this size, al-Jama'ah, Qur'an, al-Sunnah. It took us 2 years. So anybody want to lead, they can lead now. Yeah. But to me, it's you learn through gradation, taking it step by step. And therefore, each step along the way, you're going to learn something. Bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, that you did not know, or be reminded something that you might have forgotten. So let's not be in a rush. Now, Sa'adi, rahimahullah, makes a statement about Aqidah that I think is important that we pay attention to. This is a book by Sa'adi, who is the Sheikh of Ibn Taymiyyah, his main Sheikh. A book called Fath al-Rahim al-Malik al-Allam في علم العقائد والتوحيد وأخلاق والأحكام المستمدة من القرآن. He says in it about Tawheed. He says, هذا هو أشرف معلوم or علوم. It is the most noble of knowledges. What is? Tawheed. And you know, they often used to say it like this. It is the most noble of knowledges, because every knowledge, nobility is taken from what it's connected to. And since Tawheed is connected to Allah, then that makes it what? The most noble of knowledges. You got that point? May I ask you again, Abdul Qayyum? Any knowledge is to be assessed based upon what it is connected to. Knowledge of mechanics is connected to a car. Right? Knowledge of physics is connected to what it is connected to, and like this. So a knowledge that is connected to Allah has to definitely be a noble knowledge, because there's no one more nobler than Allah Ta'ala. Who ashraf ulum ala itlaq, absolutely. Wa afdaluha, the best knowledge, the knowledge of Tawheed. Wa akmaluha, the most perfect. Wa bihi tastaqim al-qulub, with it their hearts are made straight. Ala aqaid al-sahiha, upon the correct belief. Wa bihi tasqu al-akhlaq wa tammu, and with it the morals and manners behavior are purified, and they are given nourishment and growth. This is what Aqidah is supposed to do, brothers. I mean, he's not whistling Dixie here. He's talking about something that actually is supposed to take place when we study Tawheed. That it is the afdaluha, the best knowledge, absolutely. Wa akmaluha, the most perfect knowledge. Wa bihi tastaqim al-qulub, with it their hearts become straight, brother. If there's deviation in the heart, Tawheed will straighten it out. If there's any crookedness in the heart, Tawheed will straighten it out. If there's anything that needs to be mended in the heart, Tawheed will mend it. Tastaqim al-qulub, their hearts will be straightened out. Ala aqaid al-sahiha, upon the correct beliefs. Upon the correct beliefs. Wa bihi tasqu al-akhlaq wa tammu, and with it, the morals and manners and behavior, our morals are purified and they are nourished. This is what's supposed to happen. Supposed to, without an SU. Supposed to happen, man. This is what is supposed to happen. وَبِهِ تَسِهِ الْأَعْمَالِ, And through this correct tawheed and knowledge and aqidah, actions become valid or invalid. Tusih al-a'man. You want your action to be correct, you got to have tawheed and correct aqidah. We're talking about, and your actions will be made complete and perfect based upon that. So this is what he wanted to say. He talks about what this knowledge deals with. That this knowledge, al-bahth, researchers will deal with what is obligatory regarding Allah, from the obligatory qualities of Allah's perfection and his beautiful descriptions, and that which is forbidden regarding Allah, meaning of qualities of deficiency and things that are deficient and are quality that don't befit Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala, like this. And what is permissible regarding Allah ta'ala, to him bringing into existence all that he has brought into existence. Al-fa'alu lima yurid, he does what he wants. Ma sha'a kan wa ma lam yasha' lam yakun, what he wills will be and what he does not will not be. Also deals with belief in the messengers and their qualities, what is permitted for the messenger to do and what is not permissible for him to do. Belief in the books, to the end of what he said of jazaa, the last day, the reward, the punishment, the jannah and the nar. This is just something to tell you what aqidah is supposed to do. What we're supposed to be getting out of this lesson. Don't say your aqidah is sound and then you're morally corrupt, because you haven't studied aqidah properly then. Don't say that your aqidah is sound but your heart is deficient and crooked and hard, because then you haven't studied aqidah really. Because we just understood from the statement of Sa'di that this is supposed to correct us. This is supposed to rectify us. You want rectification? Sit in a circle studying aqidah. You want rectification? Sit in a circle studying aqidah. Man, you know I'm pretty good but I lie a lot. Sit in a circle studying aqidah. I'm trying to be on what I'm supposed to be about, but I cheat. I tend to cheat. I tend to keep people's trust. I don't give them back when they give me stuff. Sit in the circle on aqidah. If the aqidah is sound, everything else will be what? Sound. We talked about this before. We said every container gives what it contains. The container of vinegar will only give vinegar. You can do all you want. That container that has vinegar in it is only going to give you vinegar. And the container that contains honey is only going to give you honey. So we have to make sure that our receptacles, that which we have, our hearts, contain the correct aqidah, sound knowledge regarding Allah Ta'ala, based upon a sound foundation, and what will come from us, and what we will be able to convey to others will be that which is sound, and that which is correct, and that which is righteousness, and that which is in accordance with what Allah Ta'ala and the Messenger Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam has called to, and the Sahaba radiallahu anhum were upon. Now, the little time we have, we'll start. He opens with the page with فَاسْأَلُوا أَهْلَ الذِّكْرِ إِن كُنْتُمْ لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. Ask the people of remembrance, the people who have knowledge of Qur'an, al-Sunnah, manhaj salaf salih, the scholars, if you don't know. Then he does his own intro, which we'll leave. Then we'll do the intro that the Sheikh has. Sheikh Muhammad Salih al-Thaymiyyah rahimahullah starts with this intro. And this intro is composed, this introduction is composed of some basic knowledge of Tawheed. Why? Because something came to my mind. One of the brothers said to me, hey, you know, man, if you gave most of our brothers a pop quiz, man, about Tawheed, they couldn't pass it, man. He said, man, you should give them a pop quiz. I said, no, I don't want to put nobody on Front Street, man. Give them a pop quiz, man. Go ahead, pop them with a quiz, right? That was his mentality. And he's saying that our brothers wouldn't know the three aspects of Tawheed even. I can't believe that. I refuse to believe that. But nevertheless, now, the three aspects of Tawheed which are known, Tawheed al-Rububiyyah, Tawheed al-Uluhiyyah, Tawheed Asma al-Sifat. This book mainly deals with Asma al-Sifat, the names and qualities of Allah Ta'ala. And it's going to cover Tawheed al-Rububiyyah, the oneness of Allah and His Lordship, and Tawheed al-Uluhiyyah, oneness of Allah and the fact that He alone should be worshipped, It's going to cover it in general and in inclusive in what it says, and as a direct result of what it'll bring. In other words, there's no way you can get around it, because all of them are intertwined. But Tawheed al-Uluhiyyah, Tawheed al-Rububiyyah, Tawheed Asma Sifat, these are the three aspects of Tawheed that if one comes with, he is a Muwahid, somebody upon Tawheed, and he will be successful. But if he is deficient or misses one of them, he will not be on the correct belief, and he will in fact be amongst the losers. All of them have to be there. So if it sounds to you, if this is the first time you've sat in a circle of this nature, this is the first time that you've been blessed by Allah Ta'ala to hear for the first time these pearls of wisdom, these diamonds, these jewels of Tawheed, of what is Tawheed and the belief of Allah Ta'ala, and some of it sounds a little foreign to you, get used to it. It will, inshallah Ta'ala, with time, it will find its way into soaking into your heart, into your mind, and you will get past the illusion of the words being hard, because that's all it is. They're very easy to memorize, and you'll find that this is a very sound and easy, not difficult Aqidah to understand. It's not hieroglyphics, it's not nuclear science, it doesn't need any of that. It's in accordance with the fitrah, but we have to give some effort to it. We have to get some effort. Since it deals mainly with Tawheed al-Asma wa Sifat, the names of Allah Ta'ala, the oneness of Allah and His names and His qualities, then the Shaykh has to cover the other aspects of Tawheed in his intro, so that it be understood that this is also important. And this treatise, even though it deals with Tawheed Asma wa Sifat, it deals with basically the Aqidah in general. The Aqidah in general, everything that the Muslims are supposed to believe in, this particular Aqidah al Wasitiyyah, explains it. Mukhtasirah in our bridge 4. Where this is what you're supposed to be. You want to know what it is to be Muslim? You want to know what it is to be Sunni? You want to know what it is to be Salafi? You want to know what it is to be Adhari? Somebody up on that which is correct, this is the belief that you have to have. He says, after saying Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim wa salatu salam ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa ashabi ajma'in, amma ba'd, فإن هذا الكتاب الذي يسمى, this book which is called Aqidah al Wasitiyyah, ألفه حبر أمة في زمانه. It is written by a Habra Ummah. Habr is somebody who is an ocean of knowledge. Because if you look at it, Habara is on the same form as Bahara. And Bahara is a Bahr, ocean. An ocean. So Habr is someone who is an ocean of knowledge. And he calls him the ocean of knowledge of this Ummah. Who is he talking about? Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah. ألف حبر أمة في زمانه. The oceans of the possessor of oceans of knowledge in his time. In his time. Ibn Taymiyyah, because this is a name given to Ibn Abbas, right? Habra Ummah Ibn Abbas, right? Tarjuman al-Qur'an. Abu Abbas. I'm going to ask you his name in this kunya. We'll do that next time. I'll get you inshallah. Abu Abbas, Shaykh al-Islam, Ahmad ibn Abdul Halim, ibn Abdul Salam, ibn Taymiyyah al-Harani, rahimahullah, who died in 728. It's important sometimes not so necessarily the birth date, but the death date. Keep in your mind these things. This is what they often teach the students of knowledge. Remember the death date of a particular scholar. So 728 Hijri. لهذا الرجل من مقامات. This man had so many great circumstances and positions and levels that he went through throughout his life. Maqamat is things that happened to him, events that took place with him. التي يشكر عليها, that which he should be thanked for. والتي نرجو من الله له مثوبة عليها, and that we hope from Allah that he be rewarded for. في الدفاع عن الحق, because of his defense of the truth. ومحاجمة أهل الباطل, and attacking أهل الباطل, the people of falsehood. ما يعلمه كل من تتبع كتبه وصبرها. Anybody will know this who reads his books and has patience regarding reading his books and going through them. You come to know the worth of the man. You come to know his value. You come to know something about his level. والحقيقة, and the reality, أنه من نعم الله على هذه الأمة Ibn Taymiyyah says, in reality, is that this man is from the blessings of Allah upon this ummah. No one knows the virtues of the virtuous except those who are virtuous. Takes a scholar to recognize what he's saying. Ibn Taymiyyah, by virtue that he's Ibn Taymiyyah, with the knowledge he had, is able to look at Ibn Taymiyyah and say, in reality, بالحقيقة, in reality, إنه من نعم الله, he's of the blessing of Allah على هذه الأمة, upon this ummah. Who wants to doubt that? Who wants to contradict that and still remain in this circle? Who? This book, this man's books right now defend Islam. Right now his books defend Islam. Right now there's some scholars sitting in some room or some student of knowledge taking from the resources and the pearls of wisdom that Ibn Taymiyyah did. Right now Sheikh Rabi is putting in one of his books. Or Muhsin Abad is putting in one of his books some type of statement from Ibn Taymiyyah. Right now someone's doing a bath in the issue of fiqh and they're looking up what Ibn Taymiyyah said. Hakada, like this. He is from the ni'mah of Allah upon this ummah. لِنَ اللَّهَ سُبْحَانَهُ وَتَعَالَى كَفَّ بِهُمُورَ عَظِيمَةٍ, because Allah protected this ummah from great dangers. Protected this ummah from great dangers, particularly in the area of Aqidah with this man. This man was the protector of the Aqidah. This man was the defender of the Aqidah. This man was the maintainer of calling to that which is sound regarding the Aqidah. Great dangers of Muslims' religion and their beliefs were being exposed. Innovations were being innovated. And Ibn Taymiyyah was chopping away. وهذا الكتاب, this book, كتاب مختصر, abridged, a summarized short book, يسمى called al-Aqidah, the Aqidah al Wasitiyyah. It was written by Shaykh al-Islam because a man or a judge came to him from Wasit. A judge, a qadi, came to him from the city of Wasit. Shakka ilayhi, complained to him, ما كان الناس يعانونه من المذاهب المنحرفة, what the people are experiencing from deviant beliefs, particularly regarding the names and qualities of Allah. فكتب هذه عقيدة, he wrote this belief. And read the belief. How a man gonna just sit down and write that? They say the same thing about Fatawa Hamawiyah. He wrote it right after Asr, you know. I'll write it to you after. And I'm kind of busy, but يعني. Write it out. خلاص انتهى. Wrote it for the man on the spot. A book that's studied now for centuries. A book that has graduate, doctorate theses being done on it. A book that has been explained by all the great ulama of Najd and every scholar from the Salafi way basically has explained to someone and wrote different and has studied it and has brought it in different ways. We went through the Aqidah al Wasitiyyah explained by Khalil Hiraz, the Sheikh of Muhammad Aman al-Jami. Went through Tanbihat al-Sunniyah, which is one done by one of the Qadis of Mecca, explaining what? Aqidah al Wasitiyyah. And like this. Then some of them do it in As'ila wa Ajwiba form, question and answer form. Alright? Some of them do it like that. This is something this man wrote. From his ilm, and from his concern of the ummah. Now, فَكَتَبَ هَذِهِ عَقِيدَةً, he wrote this belief, التي تعد زبدة لعقيدة أهل السنة والجماعة. It is considered the butter of the Aqidah al Sunnah wal Jama'ah in what يتعلق بالأمور, the matters that he خاد الناس فيها, or that the people went into from bid'ah. وكثر فيها كلام, and they had a lot of talk about. والقيل وقال, he said and she said. قبل أن نبدأ كلام على هذه الرسالة, before we talk about this great risala, Ibn Taymiyyah says, he says, رسالة عظيمة. نحب أن نبين, we like to explain that جميع رسالات الرسل, that every message of the messengers, من أوله, from the first of them, being Nuh alayhi salam, إلى آخرهم, the last of them, بمحمد صلى الله عليه وسلم كلها تدعو إلى التوحيد. All of them called to Tawheed mainly. So he wants to cover all of it. قال الله تعالى, you heard it again, you're going to hear it again inshallah. قال الله تعالى, you heard it before, you're going to hear it again. وما أرسلنا من قبلك من رسول إلا نوحي إليه أنه لا إله إلا أنا فاعبدون. And we have not sent a messenger except that we revealed to him that none has the right to be worshipped except I, and worship me. Al-Anbiya, verse 25. وقال تعالى, Allah the Exalted said, وَلَقَدْ بَعَثْنَا فِي كُلِّ أُمَّةٍ رَسُولًا. And then we have sent in every nation a messenger. أَنِ اعْبُدُوا اللَّهَ, that you worship Allah. وَاجْتَنِبُوا الطَّاغُوتَ, and that you avoid all false deities. You avoid all taghut, all things that are worshipped besides Allah, and they're pleased with that worship. Al-Nahl, verse 36. وَذَلِكَ, and we're in with this before he gets to the end of here. ذَلِكَ أَنَ خَلِقُوا لِوَاحِدٍ. That is cause the creation was created for one purpose, and for one. And that is Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala. خُلِقُوا لِعِبَادَتِهِ. Created for his worship. تَتَعَلَّقُ قُلُوبُهُمْ بِهِ. Their hearts ought to be attached to him, glorifying him, realizing his majesty, khawfan, fearing him, raja'an, having trust in him, tawakkalan, depending upon him, rakbatan, desiring him, wa rahbatan, fearing him. Hatta yansalakhu an kulli shay min ad-dunya, until they remove themselves from everything of the dunya that is not a help for them upon this tawheed. Until they remove themselves from anything connected to this dunya. Insalakh is like the snake coming out of his skin. And they take off that skin. Take off anything from the dunya that doesn't help them with this tawheed. Doesn't help them fulfill this tawheed. Doesn't help them exemplify this tawheed. Doesn't help them with tawheed of Allah Azza wa Jal. لأنك أنت مخلوق, because you're created. لا بد أن تكون لك خالق. You must have a creator. قلبا وقالبا في كل شيء. In every situation, in every matter, this is the case. ولهذا, because of this, كان دعوة الرسل عليه السلام, the call of all the messengers, إلى هذا الأمر, to this matter, الهام عظيم, this great important matter. عبادة الله, to worship Allah, وحده, alone, لا شريك له, without any associate. لم يكن الرسل الذين أرسلهم الله عز وجل إلى بشر يدعون إلى توحيد الربوبية. Those who the messenger Allah sent as messengers didn't call to the oneness of Allah and His Lordship, though that's part of their da'wah. That was not their call. But if they called to it, they didn't call to it like they called to the oneness of Allah in His worship. Because those who deny the oneness of Allah and His Lordship are very few in between. And even those who refuse it, in reality, inside they believe in it and they can't deny it. Unless there's someone who don't have their uqul, their intelligence, and don't have any perception whatsoever, then they are, other than that, denying it from arrogance. قد قسم علماء رحمه الله توحيد ثلاثة أقسام. The ulama say tawheed is in 3 branches. Then he talks about tawheed al-rububiyyah, and tawheed al-uluhiyyah, and tawheed al-asma wa sifat, which we will deal with next time bi-idhnillahi ta'ala.